The Fish by Ian Harrington.
Hi, what's your name? I have one, but I don't like it very much. I always like the names people have in the movies and comics, like Dr. No. Those are cool names. I always wanted a name like that, and I guess this is my chance. I like masks, especially the ones that look really real, like they're a whole nother person's face. Oh, those rock. I wanted Dad to buy me one once, but he wouldn't. He said it was too expensive. I don't get why people use money so much. It's just paper. But why don't you call me Mask? I like that name. Mask. Sounds really cool, right? Anyway, I'm gonna tell you something. You have to promise you won't tell anyone else, okay? Mom and Dad especially. Promise? Okay, and if you do tell, then I'm not gonna play with you anymore. Got it? Well, it happened on my 5th birthday, back on Halloween. That's another reason I like the name Mask, because my mommy had me on Halloween. But like I was saying, it was a month or two ago, on my 5th birthday. The party was so cool. I get a costume party every year, and me and all my friends, we go trick-or-treating together. And this year, they all got to sleep over. We stayed up until 11 at night. But it was earlier that day when all this started. I woke up that morning and Mom had apple pancakes ready for me. They were real tasty. And on top of the first pancake, there was a face. He had a banana eyes and a bacon smile and a strawberry for a nose. Mom knows just what I like when it comes to food. After breakfast, Dad asked me what I wanted to do. I told him that I wanted to watch my favorite movie, so we all watched The Jungle Book together. My favorite part, with Cousin Louie and the monkeys came on, where they all sing. I loved the song. Dad said it was called I Want to Be Like You, and that he had a CD with a real band singing it. I jumped up and down, begging him to play it. Please! 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 I yelled. Dad told me to calm down, and he went to go get it. Then he put it in the CD player and messed around with the modes to get it to work. I don't know how to work all of them yet. We have 4, but I figured out how to work the one that makes the TV change channels. But anyway, Dad put in the CD, and the song started playing. I don't know what it was, but I knew what it wasn't. Dad, you said you'd play I Want to Be Like You, I said. Dad looked at me for a minute, and then he said,
All things in time.
Then he hit a button on the moat, and then suddenly, I Want to Be Like You started to play. Mom and Dad and me danced all around the living room. I learned all the words already and sang along with it. After the song was over, my older brother Timmy woke up and looked at us in the living room. We were still dancing even though the song was over. At least I was. Mom too. Dad was videotaping us. Timmy always walks around in the morning in nothing but his underpants. Mom doesn't like that. So she told him to get dressed. I promised her I would never walk around like Timmy. I wear my jamos until bath time. They have James Bond on them. Me and all my friends really like James Bond. We always play it when we're outside. Mikey pretends to be James Bond because him and his family are British. And Lori is always the girl. Ricky, Bobby, and Andrew are like agents and stuff. They change sides and play all different kinds of people. They always make me play the bad guy. But I don't mind. I like the bad guys. Their plans and stuff are really cool. Anyway, Timmy told me to have a good birthday and told Mom to get off her broomstick. I'm not sure what he meant by that. She wasn't even holding a broom. Timmy is like that sometimes, though. Like, he says no to stuff, even when he should be saying yes. Like the other day, he brought in the mail, and Dad asked him if he did, and Timmy just held it up and said, No. That and he'll tell me and Mom and Dad to do one thing when he wants us to do something else. I just ask him what he wants again, but Mom and Dad get mad at him and tell him not to get smart with them. I think they might be doing the same thing to him, though. Because when he gets bad grades in school, Mom and Dad get mad at him. Grown-ups are weird like that, I guess. Timmy asked me if he could change the channel since the credits were running on The Jungle Book. I was okay with that, and then a commercial came on when he did. It was for this new store that said they sold aquariums, and fish to go in them. As soon as I heard that, I just knew I wanted a fishy. They're so cool. There's this show I watch, and all the fish and animals talk on it. I know that my fishy won't talk, but I knew I'd be able to teach him tricks. I asked Daddy to take me to the store and buy me a fishy for my birthday. Dad smiled and told me okay, but I had to take care of it all by myself. I told him that I would, and that I'd take really, really super good care of it.
What are you gonna name him?
Timmy asked while Dad was getting ready to go. Fish have names? I asked. Hey, don't laugh. I'm only 5. How am I supposed to know?
Only if you name him, silly.
Timmy said.
If you give a fish a name, then it has one. But you gotta pick a good one, because you can't change it after that.
I'll pick a really good name, I told Timmy. And I did. I picked my favorite name in the world. I named my fishy Louie. Well, that's what I was going to name him. Dad and me got into the car and we drove to the aquarium store. It was only just out of the neighborhood and down the street from my house. We went into the store and there were these fishies everywhere. All the walls were aquariums, and one of them even had a fish with tiger stripes on it. It was cool. A big man with a beard came up to us. I hid behind Dad's leg. I wasn't scared. I just didn't want him to see me. The man asked Dad what we were there for. Dad told him it was my birthday and that I wanted a fishy. The man asked what kind. Dad told him,
the kind that are cheap.
I'm not sure how many different kinds of fishy there are, but my dad knows everything, and if the cheap kinds are the kinds he wants me to have, I bet they're the bestest. The man told us to follow him. We passed all different kinds of fishies. Some of them didn't even look like fishies are supposed to. Some of them looked like triangles with tails, and some of them were even weirder. Finally, we got to where the man was taking us. There was a whole wall of goldfish in it, and nothing else. Dad told me I could have any one I wanted. So I pointed to one near the top, and the man with the beard got it out. He put it in a bag with water. He gave it to me, and then he and Dad and me walked to the box up front. You know, the one where they put the money in. The man went behind the box, and then Dad got out his wallet, and then he handed the man some money. How much did it cost, Dad? I asked Dad.
A whole $1. You're worth it.
I don't get grown-ups. I didn't think $1 was all that much, but apparently it's a lot. When I grow up, I'm not going to care about money like that. After Dad bought me the fish, we went to the car, and then we went to the house. When we got back, we went inside and the house was empty. But then all my friends and Mom and Nana and Uncle Dave and Aunt Lexi all jumped out from behind the couch and the chair and from behind the TV, and they all yelled, "Surprise!" I was so surprised, too. I ran out and hugged Mom and said thanks to everyone that was at my party. The grown-ups all told me that I was another year older and that I shouldn't waste time. Then they all went in the kitchen and talked while my friends and me all played James Bond outside. This time, I lost rock, paper, scissors game and Lori was on my side. The other kids don't like to have her on their side, but I don't care. I think Lori is funny, and maybe even a little stupid, but I'm okay with that. My evil plan was to combine a bunch of chemicals and make giant lizard men. Lori was a double agent who caught Mikey, who was 007. I made a trap that was going to turn Mikey into one of my lizard slave soldiers. Mikey couldn't get out of the trap in time, but he said he was able to use the lizard powers without the mind control. I told him that was cheating, and he said since he was the hero, he had to win. I said since it was my birthday, I should win. Lori was on my side of the fight, but Ricky and Bobby and Andrew all said that the good guy always wins, and that I couldn't change that, because the ramifications would be unimaginable. I don't know what Ricky meant by that. But since I didn't know, he said I couldn't argue with him. I don't really like Ricky that much. He's older than anyone else I play with. He said that because he's in the 2nd grade and the oldest, he knows the most and gets to make all the decisions. I gave up talking with him about it and let Mikey win anyway. Then we went inside. Mom said I could open my presents. Dad gave me a baseball bat and a glove and a hat. He knows I don't really like that game, but wants me to try to be good at it. Timmy got me a dinosaur puzzle. He's the best big brother ever. I really like puzzles. And this one was 25 pieces. Mom got me some Hot Wheels cars, and a track that goes with it. And Uncle Dave got me a remote control robot. And Aunt Lexi got me a big box of crayons, and markers, and paper, and paint, and brushes, and colored pencils. And Mikey got me some toy soldiers. He knows that I like his, so that made me happy. Lori gave me a necklace that she made herself. I didn't really like it, but I know I'm supposed to be nice to girls, so I said thanks and put it on anyways. Ricky and Bobby and Andrew all gave me different parts of a James Bond toy set. Well, it wasn't really James Bond, but it looked a lot like him. I liked it anyhow. Mom told me Nana wanted to give me my resin and arrive at it, so me and her went in my room. She closed the door and told me she didn't want Mommy to know what she was giving me.
I didn't want to give you this in front of your parents. I have the last few years and they've pocketed it. So you're going to wear this when you go back out there.
She handed me one of those things Daddy wears around his neck when he leaves for work every day. At first I was disappointed, but then she said,
"But here's your real present."
Then she handed me a bunch of green paper that was folded on itself.
There's $100 there. I've split it up into a lot of small bills. It's all yours to spend any way you want. And don't tell your mama or papa about it, okay? It's none of their business. And make sure when you leave the room to look sad about your tie.
I don't get grown-ups. Why would Mom and Dad be mad about me having money? They always say they don't have enough to buy me things I want. Now I can buy it for myself, if I really want it. But Nana asked me not to tell, so I won't. Then I went back out to my party. Dad had my goldfishy in his bowl on the table. Lori was looking at it. She has a whole bunch of fish at her house. She said that Louie was cute, though. Mikey and Bobby and Ricky and Andrew were all chasing each other around the room with balloons. I reached in the bowl and petted Louie. Mom told me to get my hand out of the water, but Nana and Dad and Uncle Dave and Aunt Lexi all smiled and took pictures. Mom said it was 5 o'clock and that we had to get in our costumes so we could go truck-or-treating. I dressed up like a clown, and Mikey dressed up like a fireman. Bobby was a dinosaur, and Andrew was a rock star, and Ricky was a cowboy. Lori dressed up as a pink kitty. I thought her costume was okay, but the other boys said it was stupid. I could tell Lori wanted to cry, but she pretended not to care what they said about her. We went truck-or-treating at this one house. I saw a whole bucket of candy sitting out in the open. I started to grab some, but then a monster jumped out of the bushes and scared me. It turned out it was just someone in a really scary costume, but I thought he did a really good job of scaring me. He felt bad though, so he gave me a big giant Kit Kat bar. Mikey was so jealous, but he got a big Butterfinger later and stopped complaining. We saw some older kids who were wearing all black and hiding in some bushes. Dad got in front of us when we did. I asked him why, and he said they were planning to steal our candy. It was really late when we got back home. Mom's hospital show was on, and the clock on the TV said it was 10. Dad said we could each have one piece of candy, and then we had to go to sleep. I wanted to eat my Kit Kat, but Dad said it was too much, so I just had a Tootsie Roll. I asked Mom if we could all sleep downstairs. She said that was fine and that she would let Timmy know to sleep on the couch when he got home. We all used the sleeping bags that were in the basement and put them down in a circle. Timmy had glow-in-the-dark stars on the basement ceiling. He moved his room down there about a year ago. Mom and Dad didn't like it, but Timmy told them that didn't matter. We were all looking up at the stars when Andrew said,
How do they make glow-in-the-dark stuff glow?
I don't know, maybe they dip it in some goo.
Mikey said.
That's stupid.
Lori said.
Then the goo would have had to glow too, so we still need to know.
Shut up, Lori. What do you know? You're a girl. Girls are dumb.
Bobby said.
Are not,
said Lori.
Yeah, they are,
said Mikey.
Why do you think boys make all the good stuff? Girls don't know nothing about anything.
I'm in 2nd grade,
Ricky said.
and they say girls aren't as smart as boys.
That's not true. What do you think?
Lori said, looking at me. I think that we're all just as smart as each other. Then Dad yelled down the stairs at us.
Guys, sleep. Don't talk.
We all stopped talking and started to go to sleep. When I felt I was about to, I noticed Lori was right next to me. She whispered in my ear.
Thanks for sticking up for me.
Then she kissed me on the cheek and said,
Happy birthday.
before going back to her sleeping bag. I fell asleep a little while later. I dreamed I was in a desert, next to a road. There was a lizard on the road. I heard a motorcycle zooming down the road. I looked over and there was a giant grown-up sized fish driving the motorcycle. I saw that he was going to run over the lizard. I tried to get to the road fast enough to pick him up, but the fish ran over him before I could. I woke up after that and saw Timmy stepping over me.
Hey, little guy.
He whispered. Hi, Timmy, I said. What time is it?
About 6. I'm gonna get ready to go to school. Go back to sleep.
I did. A few hours later, I woke back up. Ricky had to leave early for school. Turned out that Timmy picked him up and took him out to his mom. A little after I woke up, everyone else did. Mom made us all Eggo waffles for breakfast while her and Dad got ready for work. Grandma came over after everyone left, but before Mom and Dad left for work. Grandma looks after me during the day. I think I can take care of myself just fine, but Mom and Dad say I'm too young. What they don't know is I basically take care of myself all day anyway, because Grandma goes into Mom and Dad's room and sleeps or watches TV almost all day. She only really ever comes out when she makes me lunch. But the other day she showed me how to use the blender and how to cook bologna with the frying pan. Mom and Dad left for work and Grandma went to go watch Jeopardy in their room. I knew it was going to be a while till anyone was going to be able to come out and play. So I walked around the house and started to put all my new toys that I got for my birthday in the living room. I didn't know why they call it that. There's no dining room, is there? I don't think there is, anyway. I set up the James Bond toys and then went to go get my fishy in his bowl. Then I got an idea. I got out my Hot Wheels track and made a ramp over the bowl. I set up the red car so that it would zoom down the track and over the bowl. When I let go of the car, it went down the track super fast, but it didn't make it over the bowl. Actually, it fell in. I looked down into the bowl. Louie was swimming around the car, which was planted up till its hood in his rocks. Louie looked up at me and swam up to the top of the water. I started to stick my finger in, and he swam over toward it really quick. I wasn't scared, but I just didn't want him touching me. At first. I tried to stick my hand in again, but Louie came over toward it again. After a while, I just put in one finger and dipped it in the water. I closed my eyes and turned my head away from the bowl. I was a little scared, but not of Louie. Just of what else might be in the water, okay? And then I felt Louie swim up next to my finger. He felt slimy. I opened my eyes and looked down at Louie, and he was swimming around my finger. Then I took my finger out of the water and stuck it back in to pet him. I think he liked it. After that, I went back to my James Bond toy. I noticed there was a water base, and I got an idea. I ran back to my room and grabbed Louie out of the water. He was excited. He loved being out of the water. He was flipping and flopping all around in my hand. I ran into the living room and put Louie on the blue part of the base that was supposed to be water. Then I remembered I left the Hot Wheel car in Louie's bowl. When I got back, Louie wasn't moving. He was just lying there, like he was sleeping. "Louie?" I said. "Louie, why aren't you jumping anymore?" I went up to him and poked him. I figured that he fell asleep, but he still wouldn't move. I picked him up and tried to pet him, but he still wouldn't move. "Louie, wake up, I want to play," I said, but he wouldn't move. I thought he was just being mean, so I took him back to my room and put him in his bowl. But he didn't start swimming. He just floated to the top of the bowl. I poked him again, but he still wouldn't move or nothing. I didn't know why. I remembered that Timmy told me if I ever needed to know something that all I had to do was look it up on the internet. He said to go to Google, so I did. I typed, "Why won't my fishy move?" into the word box. The first blue letter said, "Explaining death to a child." Timmy told me the first result is usually the best one, so I clicked and started reading. It said that everything dies, that nothing gets to be around forever, that no matter what, all living things stop, that when something dies it stops moving, that it will never start again. I'm a smart kid. I knew that this meant that Louie was dead. I knew that this meant that he was never coming back. And I cried when I found out. I didn't know why Louie had to die. And I was so mad at Dad for giving me something that I couldn't keep forever. And then I thought about how mad Dad would be if he found out that Louie was dead because of me. Then I remembered something Grandma said yesterday. She said that I could use the money for anything I wanted. And I remembered that the store where Dad bought Louie was just only a little bit outside of our neighborhood. I've walked farther before. I told Grandma I was going to go over to Mikey's and play with him. She said to be careful. I got some of the money she gave me and grabbed Louie's old bowl. I took Louie out and threw him in the bushes. Then I started to walk to the store. It took a while to get there, but I made it. There was a girl behind the box. Dad told me it was a register. But she was kissing a boy. I rang the bell and they both got really scared. The boy even hid under the table. "Hi," I said. "I need a fishy."
Where are your parents?
She asked. "They're at work. Where's the man with the beard who was here yesterday?" I asked. Her face turned really red and she went to the wall that had all the fishies in it. I told her I wanted one of the ones that cost $1. She put it in my bowl and I gave her one of the dollars Grandma gave me. After that, I walked back home. When I got there, Grandma was sleeping. I put the bowl with the new fishy in it in the middle of the living room and sat down looking at it. It just swam around in circles. I went back up to it and stuck my finger in the water. Just like Louie, this fish swam up and touched my finger. Then it started to swim in circles around it. I stuck my hand in the water and pulled the new fishy out. I put him on the floor and just like Louie did, he started to flip and flop around like he was really excited. Then he started to flop around slower. He wasn't getting up as high, too. A while later, he was barely moving. His tail was just flopping on the ground, really, really slowly. Timmy was home from school. I grabbed my fishy quick and threw him in the bowl. He started swimming around really, really fast. Tim came in the room and looked at me. I was wiping my hand on my shirt. He asked me what I was doing. I told him my hand was wet from petting Louie.
There's no way that fish is letting you pet him.
Timmy said. Yaha! I said, then stuck my finger in the water. The fishy swam away from it really fast. He was swimming up against the glass like he wanted to get away. Well, he was, I said. Timmy stuck his hand on my head and messed up my hair. Then he laughed and told me to keep trying. Then Timmy left the room. I looked at the fish. He was still swimming against the glass. He didn't want me to touch him. He was afraid that I would take him out of the water again. He was afraid that I would leave him out of the water, like I did with Louie.
Part 2.
That night seemed to last forever. I don't think I went to sleep. I just kept looking at the fishy in his bowl. Every time I got close, he swam away. I asked Dad why he was doing that. He said that Louie was afraid. I didn't tell Dad Louie was dead. I didn't tell Grandma that I spent some of the money she gave me. I didn't tell Mom I threw Louie in her garden. I didn't tell Timmy that I used the internet for the first time on my own. And I stayed up all night looking at the fishy in the bowl. I pretended to be asleep when I heard Mom coming into my room to get me and wake me up for breakfast. I wasn't hungry though, or tired, but I ate anyway. I knew that they'd expect me to and that they'd ask me questions if I didn't eat. I was waiting for Mom and Dad to go to work, and for Timmy to go to school, and for Grandma to come and watch TV. And once they all did, I brought the fishy into the living room again. He tried to get away from my hand, but I grabbed him anyway. I was holding onto his tail and keeping him so that only his head was in the water. After a few minutes of that, I took his head out of the water and kept holding onto his tail. He kept flipping back and forth, trying to get out of my hand and back into the water. That's when I got that he wasn't excited. He was afraid. He didn't want to die. And I didn't want him to either. I wanted to put him back in the water and let him swim around and live forever. But I knew he wouldn't. I knew he was going to die no matter what I did. So I held him there above the water. The longer I did, the less he fought. The longer I held him there, the less time he would be here. I knew that if I did it, that if I was the one that made him die, he'd be happy, because he wouldn't have to wait. After the new fishy died, I flushed him down the toilet and went to the store to get another one again. The same girl was working. She didn't ask me any questions this time. I took this new fishy home and left him in my room. Timmy got back home later, then Mom, and then Dad. I didn't sleep that night either. I couldn't stop thinking about how easy it was to get rid of them. How easy it was to make it so they didn't have to live anymore. Then I remembered Mom telling me about God in heaven. Dad didn't talk about stuff like that. Mom told me that my grandpa was in heaven with him. I remembered hearing Mom and Dad argue about God one night. They thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. Dad said that lying about Santa made him feel bad enough. He said he didn't want to fill me up with that BS. I'm not sure what BS is, but I know what a lie is. And my dad says lies are bad. So I knew Mom was lying to me, and that the fishies aren't with this God. But I wanted to know where they are. How could something go from being here one minute, then gone the next? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, when you sleep, you go to dreams. Right? I knew they couldn't just go away. I knew I had to be able to tell where they went. I just wasn't looking hard enough. So the next day, I took the new fish, and to make sure that he wouldn't go like the other two, I put him in the blender Grandma taught me to use with some water. I waited till Grandma was asleep and closed the door to Mom and Dad's room. I put the cap on the blender and pushed the button that said grind. The water started to swirl and the fish shot down to the blades real fast. Then something happened. The water turned red really fast. I knew that this was what I was looking for, that the red was where he was going. I knew that he wouldn't be able to go anywhere, though, because I put the cap on the blender. I turned the blender off and watched the water while it slowed down and stopped spinning. I kept looking at the red water, looking for where the fish went, but I couldn't see him. Even when the water was so still, I could see right through it. I filled the bowl up with the new water and went to the store again. The same girl was there, and I bought another fish from her. Then I went back home and waited. I waited for tomorrow, when I could try again. Tomorrow came and I tried something else. This time I filled a pot with water and put it on the stove like Grandma taught me. I waited for it to start bubbling, then I threw the fish in. He started to swim around everywhere. He was trying to get out, but then it happened again. All the water started to turn red. After a while I saw something white floating in the water. I turned off the stove and got it out with a spoon. It was the fishy. He was gone, but part of him was still here. It was white and hard, like a white stick. I went to the store again. Then I waited for the next day, the next chance. This time I knew I had it. I knew I'd be able to figure out where it was going to. I took one of Mommy's knives from the kitchen drawer. This time I held the fish down. I slipped the blade of the knife into its mouth. The red stuff started to shoot out. I got the knife all the way in and cut him in half. There was red everywhere. It was warm. Then I saw something inside of the fish. It was tiny, but it was moving even though the rest of him wasn't. I knew that was it. I knew that that was what the fish really was. And I just looked at the tiny moving thing as it got slower and slower until it stopped. I went to the store, thinking the entire time I was trying to figure out why it stopped. But I couldn't. I didn't sleep that night again. I just couldn't figure out why it stopped. That morning I watched TV with Timmy while I was waiting for everyone to leave. There was a show with two guys. They were trying to do something. I don't remember what. But one of them said to the other that two heads are better than one. And I knew what to do. I needed someone to help me figure it out. And I knew who would help me. Lori. Later that day, I went over to her house. I had Mommy's knife in my pocket and the fishbowl in my hands. I told her that I wanted to show her something, that I needed her help figuring something out. So we went up to her room. Lori asked me what I wanted to show her, so I pulled the fish out of the water and stuck the blade in its mouth and slid it open, just like I did with the last one. Red stuff got everywhere. Lori started to cry. I told her not to, then found where the moving thing was and showed it to her. Lori didn't want to look, but I laid the half of the fish down and held her head so she couldn't look away. I watched it tick, and so did she. I watched Lori watch it until it stopped. Then I asked why it stopped. Lori cried and told me to leave. I asked her why she wanted me to, and then she said,
Because you killed it. It didn't do anything to you and you killed it. Get out! Get out!
Killed? That's what I was doing? I was killing them? But where did it go? I asked her.
Nowhere, it's dead. Dead things don't go places, they just die. Get out!
I picked up my bowl and my mommy's knife and told Lori she was stupid before I left. I started to go back into my house when I looked down and saw Louie lying in my mom's garden. I walked over to him and picked him up out of the dirt and put him in the bowl. I don't know where any of them went after they died. And I don't think Lori is right. Nothing can be here one minute, then just gone the next. I mean, you go to dreams when you sleep. You don't just stop. How could dying be any different?
The Fish was written and read by Ian Harrington. Visual and audio editing was also by Ian Harrington. Additional voice work by Scott Babbitt, Robert Smith II, and YouTube user ZinnyCat1597. Ian Harrington would also like to thank PetSmart for the use of an animal, and Andrew Gibson for the use of his camera. No animals were harmed in the making of this production. The Fish is continued in The Knife and The Ledge, all available at youtube.com/Sid Part 2. Background audio from this production comes from Cloud Cult's soundtrack from Amelie, the soundtrack of The Shawshank Redemption, and from the album Serenity, Light Awash by Kevin MacLeod.